Hey, baby chalupas! It's 7 p.m. story time again. It's a little awkward because, it takes a little while for people to log on, but I'm also saving this, I hope at least. Yeah, I am shirtless because why not? It's hot. Storytelling is powerful for a number of reasons. I promise I'm just gonna talk a little bit about storytelling for just a minute or two while people get logged on. Hi Adrian, hi Maddie, hi Michelle, hi Dakota. So storytelling is pretty powerful, particularly I think around times like this. It's something we all can do. It's something, it's just think about yourself. Think about you as a hero or a heroine. Think about your best moments and, just share them. Be vulnerable about them. The other thing I'll say about storytelling, for me at least, this is actually, it's day 2. This has been a little bit awesome. It's nice to have people give me feedback, so please give me feedback. It's nice to have kind of a fake deadline. It's nice to work on something. Hi Ben, hi Dakota, hi Courtney, hi Haddad. So enough with the hellos and on with the story. So a lot of you, I'm pretty very, very gay, and I came out fairly late in life. I came out at 25, and one of the things I've realized about that is that I really haven't shared with a lot of people what my love life has been like, and sort of what it's been like to have such a weird journey in love and such a weird journey in just becoming myself. And so I kind of wanted to take an opportunity to be a little vulnerable with you guys and tell you about my first love. So before we get to sort of my first love, the context here is important. I came out at 25, which meant that if you think about when you had your first kiss, if you think about when you had your first sort of crush, all that didn't happen for me in earnest until 25, until I'm in the heart of my career, until I'm sort of an adult ostensibly, which was a weird situation. And it kind of led to, I actually came out to my parents because I swore that I was dope as hell, which I am, and handsome as hell, which I am, and I had been losing weight, so why wouldn't I have a boyfriend as soon as possible? I was always someone who was in love with love, and I literally came out to my parents with the logic, well, I came out to myself, so if I came out to myself, I'm gonna have a boyfriend very soon, and I'm gonna have to introduce that person to my parents, and I'd rather they hear it from me as opposed to me just showing up to the doorstep with a boyfriend. I was not correct. I did not end up with a boyfriend rather quickly. In fact, I ended up dating quite a bit and finding the dating life quite transactional. In part because I really, really wanted a boyfriend, but I also was very heart-driven. I also was very chemistry-driven and vibe-driven. So the people that I was infatuated with, that I loved dating, didn't seem to want to sort of commit to me. I also think that I was, and maybe still am, I'm definitely the excited one. I'm definitely the one that wants to fall in love. I'm definitely the one that's excited, that's so do you like me? What's happening? So that's one part of it. The other part of it was right about when I came out, I also realized I was leaving Chicago, so it didn't really make sense to date seriously. I was dating much more, if I'm being honest, for the physicality and also to meet people. So fast forward to me going to Hawaii. The trip to Hawaii itself was a whirlwind. I had just come off the back of a week road trip with my mom, which will be another story another day. I had run a half marathon drunk with my besties, which is a whole another story for another day. I had run through airports shedding technology because I was late, and I had spent 8 hours or so in a plane to Honolulu. And when I landed, the time was different. So my sleep, even though I had been up for 24 hours at that point, it was sunny and beautiful and I was excited. Before my trip to Honolulu, just as a sign of like how weird my dating life was, and to this day this is still the case, I exclusively dated online. So like I came out to myself by coming out on OkCupid, and all my dating life for a very, very long time was exclusively through apps, online dating, even Craigslist. So in the same vein, as I was planning on moving to Hawaii for 50 days, I went on OkCupid and shifted my OkCupid to Honolulu. And I love writing. I got very good at sort of writing to people and writing to crushes and sort of like setting myself up for good dates. And so I had a couple of conversations with a couple of guys in Honolulu, one named Plant Protein that had kind of a shady picture, but like I love written chemistry. I genuinely think we should return back to the Civil War days where we send each other long letters that take months and months. I think the voice of someone flirting over text is really, really interesting, and the way that you can have chemistry over text or over the written word and not have chemistry in person is fascinating to me. It's just all fascinating to me. So I shifted my OkCupid to Honolulu and was talking to this guy named Plant Protein. I think I knew his name was Abel before I landed. And I told him when I was landing, and it just so happened that he was going to be working in Honolulu the night that I landed. So I was in Waikiki, that was yesterday's story, hanging out, living in paradise. And an hour or two after landing and settling into my hotel, I was supposed to meet this guy who was coming out from work, Abel. He worked at the Apple store. And I'm nervous, and we're texting, and I'm like, are you off of work? He's like, yep. I'm like, well, I'm just hanging out at the beach. And it was sunset, and I remember this sort of like beautiful, tall, man walking towards me. The other key here is I was losing weight as I came out to myself. So it was a very weird shift of becoming the body that I wanted to be while also becoming the sort of like dater and lover that I wanted to be. So I see this impossible looking, tall, beautiful man, and I'm like, that's not him. And sure enough, that was Abel. And Abel, immediately, my memory was, it was sunset, and our date was just walking. And it was walking, and he claimed it was the Renegades tour of Waikiki. And in our first couple hours, we just dove into the deep end. He talked to me about the history of Waikiki and Honolulu. He talked about, queer theory. He just seemed so advanced in like wokeness before it was wokeness. This was in like 2011, and he knew the history, and he was this tall, beautiful, blue-eyed man who was tan and had this swimmer build, and just was talking about queerness and gayness and radical, just ideas. And I was just so, smitten, and it was such an engaging conversation, and like, it was almost like just two nerds talking about like society and life, and also just learning about the history of Honolulu. It turned out also as a part of luck, my friend Jessica Ducey was landing on her way to the Marshall Islands that very same night. So I had a reason to stay up late with Abel, and our chemistry was just undeniable. We met Jessica, as the sun is setting and as we are getting to night, we all decided to go to a gay bar. Remember, I have been up for more than 24 hours, and I am on my first day in Hawaii. We go to the gay bar. I am how I normally am on a date that's going well, which I am just absolutely and utterly in love. I'm in love with love. I'm in love with vibe. I'm in love with chemistry. And like, he's also validating me. I'm also kind of meta as a dater. So like, I'm like, oh my God, this is going well. And he's like, yeah, it seems to be going well. And we go to the gay bar. He introduces me to that. He has such an ease about him, such a comfort about him. And, I can't stop talking. So I'm like, this is crazy. It's 11 o'clock at night in Honolulu. We just went to a gay bar. I have this hotel. I don't know. Do you want to stick around? Do you want to stay in my hotel? We slept together, like literally slept together. I don't remember. I'm sure there was kissing involved. I love kissing. I'm a fucking fantastic kisser. He was a fantastic kisser as well. I just love kissing, not like as a romantic thing, just the sport of kissing. And so I was due to spend one night in the hotel and bus my way to the North Shore, which is about an hour and a half away. I actually extended the whirlwind of Honolulu because of Abel. And I was like, I have a crazy idea. And he was like, yeah? I was like, why don't I just rent a car and we spend a weekend? We spend a weekend just like in Honolulu and maybe you give me a tour of the island. And he was like, sure. We rent the most stereotypical black Jeep Wrangler that's like we just doubled down on the stereotypicalness. We had a whirlwind weekend. He took me literally all around the island. I saw all parts of Oahu. He explained to me the geography, he explained to me the history, and he ended up dropping me off at my hostel. And it was this sort of like awkward, like, okay, bye, like, because he knew I was there for a retreat. And also I lived an hour and a half away from downtown Honolulu where he lived. And so after this whirlwind of travel and landing and a boy and Jessica and seeing a new place for the first time, it's quiet and I'm in my tent and I'm like, what just happened? And so I do what I was there to do, which is run, and I'm running. And I have a running playlist that at the time was probably called Glee Runner, but now is just a runner playlist that I'm just adding bangers on. So I have like 10, 15, 20 hours of running music that like I know will be good and I know I can sing to. And I'm running and I'm listening to the lyrics of whatever song I'm listening to, some Glee song, whatever. And I'm starting to understand the lyrics because I am in love. Or love, right? Like I am listening to the lyrics and I'm going, oh, this is what I'm feeling. This is it. I get it. I get this love thing. Like this is what I am feeling. And again, love. It was a shock. It was a revelation. It was true regardless of what he felt. This is the first time in my life that love songs make sense to me. Everybody's asking for the playlist. I will 100% send the playlist. It's I am basically a lip syncing drag queen when I run. So yeah, I'll share it with all of you. I haven't talked to Abel this whole time. And I'm supposed to be retreating. I'm not supposed to be on social media. I'm supposed to be running. And I'm realizing, oh my God, I am in love. I am in love. I am in love, at least according to Ariana Grande or Glee or whatever. I know, yes, love song lyrics are absolute trash. And my love was not love, obviously, but it was nice. It was nice at 25 to like finally feel the thing that apparently Ooh, it stopped there for a second. So I call Abel and I'm terrified. I am utterly terrified because I'm not here for love. I'm not here to meet someone. I'm here to be by myself. I'm here to be in a tent. I'm here to run a running retreat. Also, like, what if this was just a weekend for this dude and I was like, you know, the romantic that I am? I'm always the excited one. I'm always the one who's like earnest. I'd probably been rejected a lot at this point, but I'm unrelenting. One of my friends a little bit later in my life was like, you know, Benny, you don't have to run full steam ahead at the wall of love all the time. And I was like, I know, but I love it. Whatever. So I call him and I'm like, hey. And he's like, hey. And I was like, I've been thinking of you a lot and I don't really know what to do about it. And he was like, yeah, I guess I kind of feel the same way. And he was like, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to ruin your break. I didn't want to ruin your retreat. I didn't want to be the distraction. You're here for a reason. And immediately my heart gushed even more. I'm just sitting here going, this guy listened to me. And like, he feels the same way in some way, but like, he also respects my boundaries and respects sort of like what I want to do. And also like, what? And so we just talk it through, and I'm like, yes, I want to retreat. I want to retreat. And I was like, so how about this? How about the weekdays I spend up here and we sort of like, no contact. And then on the weekends, you come up here or I'll go down to Honolulu. And that's what we did. Weekdays were me and my retreat. That first weekend, he came up to the North Shore. He hadn't spent a lot of time up in the North Shore. Some of the amazing memories I have, the guy who owned the hostel was kind of this like really weird, creepy preacher. And he definitely noticed that we were friends who were hanging out in a tent. And he had some words for it, so we would kind of sneak around, kind of making out and being real gay, purposely around the creepy preacher. I remember us going and getting garlic, and he also introduced me to inari, and we would eat in the volcanic rock craters in front of my house, and just eat garlic and make out and get stoned and talk about life. He had an apartment in Honolulu that was gorgeous, and not gorgeous in like a rich way, like just a small little apartment with a back porch. I have pictures of it. He had 4 chickens named after the Golden Girls, and a really, really attractive roommate. I had some money, he didn't. He wasn't used to having some money, so like I would buy things or buy pot or whatever, and sort of I was the indulgent one. He took me up to a like closed off trail up in like, there's like a weird mountain trail up on top of the city of Honolulu. It's roasted garlic, so it wasn't as fragrant. Also, it didn't matter, we were stoned and in love and in Hawaii. So he took me up to this ridiculous trail that was closed and illegal to go up to, and he was like, yeah, it's cool. He was also athletic and always had been athletic and had this beautiful sort of like, in my head, ideal swimmer body that he allowed me to just fawn after and ask him questions about. And like, he also never, I guess at that point in my life, I, was still on my body journey. So this was in between 4 years in Chicago and my second 4 years in Chicago. So it was actually in between, after my first 4 years and before my second 4 years in Chicago. So he would like challenge me athletically. We went hiking in this illegal closed off trail that terrified me. This beautiful idyllic green trail up a mountain side after it had rained, but the trail was right alongside a steep slope, and that's the day that I learned I am apparently terrified of falling down a steep slope. I am not afraid of heights, but I am afraid of literally tumbling down head over foot down a slope and having to be rescued or just clumsily injuring myself all the way down. He laughed at me the whole way, but in a very sweet, encouraging way, and he pushed me. He pushed me to sort of, climb the rope bridge that was ratty and kept on encouraging me. I remember this one time, and it's one of the more sort of like poignant moments. We are snorkeling in front of the hostel and just playing. And that was the other thing. So much playing, just boyish playing, boyish playing in Hawaii in the sun. Just fun. And when it wasn't fun, he was like, yeah, why aren't we having fun? And so we're snorkeling. And to be clear, and I might have spoken about this with him, all of this is surreal. I am falling in love in the first time with a 6'5" tan Hungarian with a swimmer's body and blue eyes, like on my running retreat. Like, this is out of an Eat, Pray, Love novel. Like, what is happening? And we're having one of those moments where he's snorkeling and the water is beautiful and it's so crystal clear and there's fish all around me, and I'm just watching this gorgeous being in front of me swim and snorkel. And I remember there was a moment where I was like, I'm just looking at him underwater and I'm like, what is happening? I don't deserve this. This is crazy. Like, what is happening? This is not, I don't believe this. I don't deserve this. I don't know. I just remember feeling really insecure and feeling like for some reason I didn't deserve it. And like a psychic fucking link, underwater, he looked at me as I'm having this insecure feeling and was like, come on, play. Like, let's swim underwater. What are you sitting back there for? Let's hang out. Like, just the sort of effortless validation that I needed at that moment, that, yeah, you are amazing and you are attractive and you are great and you are interesting, and because you are, not because I'm telling you are. And like, stop being so in your head. Stop, being so, crazy. Just enjoy. Yeah. Another small little novella is we would play in the waves, and he taught me how to play in the waves. So he taught me that the waves are really, really strong in Hawaii, especially in the North Shore, and you have to let them take you a little bit. You have to be in the shore, you have to be in the sort of like in where the wake is, and you gotta let them knock you down. You can't fight them. If you fight them, you're gonna tire them out. And so we were just hours and hours and hours of just playing and letting the waves hit us over and over again and just being exhausted until a wave came much faster than we were expecting. And I remember the wave lifting me up and smashing me to the ground and hearing my back go like clack, 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 clack. And thinking, because you can't really feel anything when you've been thrown like that, like, whoa, what just happened? And then before I could even figure out that I was not paralyzed, the wave grabbed me again and slammed me down. I don't know where Abel is. I don't know where I am. This second wave is a lot scarier because I'm realizing I've been playing in the waves for 2 hours. I'm exhausted and I can't fight this wave even if I wanted to. And so for whatever reason, the flight or fight response kicked in. And I go, if I get tossed around in this third wave, I don't know what's going to happen. And so the wave sort of lets me go, and I do as much as I can to like run away from the wave. And I see Abel on the shoreline, just sort of tall and looking at me with his mouth agape. And I'm just pumping. I'm just pumping. I feel the pressure. I feel sort of like this wave chasing me. And the wave was so strong that even though I was only at like knee length of water pumping my legs, it still knocked me on my face, but I was not dragged out. And I remember going up to the shoreline and Abel being so like an 11-year-old boy and being like, oh my God, you didn't see that wave. That wave was 3 times your height. And I remember screaming back at him, I'm like, I didn't need to see it. I felt it. Are you kidding me? And so like there's the moment after the wave where it's like, you're freaked out. The real freak out thing, and I'm almost certain I almost died. The entire beach was completely silent. Like the entire beach was definitely like, we almost just saw someone die. And Abel told me later that it's fairly common for tourists to like just disappear. One last thing about Abel before I kind of get to the ending. He seemed like such a free spirit is not enough. I remember one of the most fascinating sentences about him being, I dropped out of high school and then I dropped out of college. He went to this weird hippy-dippy college that you were able to set your own major and set your own sort of curriculum, and that's where he learned to be sort of radically queer, and that that's what he was teaching me. And it was just this impossible mind to go on adventures with, this impossible companion throughout this journey. who allowed me to sort of be insecure and say whatever I needed while also sort of being like, yeah, I think that's silly, or yeah, I don't see that in you, or, just really held space for me. I remember me trying to make plans, but also going, it's only 50 days. All I have to do is sort of like enjoy these 50 days and we'll deal with the after. And so the goodbye was hard. The goodbye was me not wanting to leave really, but also I had another adventure to go on. I was going to hike Kilimanjaro. That's another story for another day. I remember sobbing and not wanting to really say anything. And I remember him sort of being weirdly just quiet or sort of removed. The epilogue here is he was a talented creator. I guess he was a content creator before that was an actual thing. I actually managed to hook him up with a job in New York. So the other reason Abel is sort of one of my first loves and just a miracle to me is like, although he had like tons of student debt and was living a very minimalist life, being called daily by debt collectors, he moved to New York for that job that I helped him get with Anomaly, and now he actually lives in Sweden. He's engaged to a beautiful farmer boy. We've seen each other a couple of times since then, and we always connected. We still do. One of the lessons he taught me about is that, infatuation can settle into true love, true partnership, where I'm not, there's been times where as he was dating other people, or as he kind of said, hey, I'm not moving to where you're moving to, where I was jealous, or I thought, wow, what does this mean about me? But ultimately his friendship was still there. The relationship is still there. I'm super happy for him. I don't know if I'll be invited to the wedding, but I even asked him before this story, hey, do you mind if I tell our story? And he was like, yeah. He knows I commemorated my first love with a tattoo. He had this beautiful sort of full arm tattoo of a tree with a owl hole. I don't know what those are called. And yeah, we're still friends to this day. Really, really good friends. He came to Chicago a couple of times. I moved back to Chicago. He came to Chicago a couple of times. I was super nervous that it was going to be different or weird, and it wasn't. It was just as lovely as it had always been. To me, that being my first love and it being someone who was so aware and nourishing. I mean, the other funny part is, since talking to him about him being my first love, he kind of laughed at me a couple years later and was like, I got to tell you something. And I was like, yeah. He was like, you're not my first sort of someone who came to Hawaii and sort of fell in love. He was like, you were the longest and you're the only one that I've kept up with, but you weren't my first. And I was like, it didn't make it any less important. It didn't make it any less special. In fact, it made it weirdly more special. Him getting married now doesn't make it any less special. Frankly, it makes me joyous that infatuation and companionship can sort of transform into something else, friendship, and that love can truly still be there. And it also taught me infatuation versus companionship versus partnership, non-linearity. Sometimes I feel real bad for straight people because it feels like the pressure to be monogamous and the pressure to have your soulmate and the pressure to sort of marry the love of your life. And what if you fall out of love, or what if you change as a human, or what pressure to put on yourself? And I was putting the pressure on myself back then as well. But Abel was kind of the first big cannonball against all that. That was hey, this is just a thing that happened and it's beautiful and it's stunning and it's lovely and it's your eat, pray, love sort of idyllic fantasy. That's kind of the constant lesson. I think for Benny older, it's kind of really lovely and cute to see myself having grown and understand sort of all the different meanings of love. I think we use the word love and we mean a lot of different things. It also reminds me, and I think I'll end it here, one of my favorite Outkast lyrics is, I hope that you're the one, but if not, you are a prototype. And Abel was the first person in my life who shared my excitement, shared my infatuation, but also was very crisp and clear with boundaries and very crisp and clear with hey, there might not be a one. And it might just be a collection of prototypes until you sort of, settle into it. Yeah. So that's all for today. Tomorrow we'll have another one. Really enjoying this. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And yeah, I hope you join me again tomorrow. The sun has set. Bye, guys.